Pat, Tim, good morning. It is so awesome to see y'all today and to get to have this conversation with y'all.
Hey, it's our pleasure. We're
Wyatt.
So excited about the book, and thanks for having us on, Wyatt.
You bet. You bet. So I got the opportunity to read the air quote advanced copy. I felt real special getting that copy. And as I was reading it, I couldn't help but post some comments from it on my social media feeds, right? And somebody responded, "What book are you reading?" And they could see the top of it, and they said, "It's not out until August. How are you reading that?" So for a moment, I felt real special. Well, that's because I have an advanced copy. Awesome book, guys. Great job.
Thanks for the props. We're
thanks. That's
excited
neat.
ourselves.
That's neat to see too, that people are wondering about it, and so that's kind of cool.
So it really was. So tell me how the book came to be. Where did this start? What prompted y'all to write this book?
Well, so I met Tim probably 16, 17 years ago. And the thing that attracted me to him as a person, a human being, and a potential friend at the time was simply that he had quit. You know, he when I asked him questions like, "What do you do?" he answered by saying, "I ski." And it frustrated me. Like, I was like, what are you talking? Like what? And then when I dig deeper, I found that, he had an illustrious real estate career, as I did at the time. He kind of left it all behind. He started flipping. He left all that. He just had this ability to just leave stuff behind, and I was very fascinated by it. So I more or less followed in his footsteps and learned from him. And so, he was my mentor in quitting. And I had never been able to really I had been a real estate agent 25 years or so. Like, I had moved on to bigger companies, like from Remax to Keller Williams and Long and Foster. I think I was at 5 different companies, but I never really quit the business.
Sure.
And so one day, about a year ago, after journaling a long time and getting way caffeinated up, I picked up the phone. I just called Tim. I said, "Tim, I have an idea." And he said, "What?" I said, "We should write a book about quitting." And he said, "Great idea." And then the next day, and I kind of left it at that, because I get a lot of ideas that I verbalize or I journal about, and they go nowhere and nobody follows up. You know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, well, they didn't think it was a good idea as I did. But Tim continued to follow up and was like, "Hey, I'm serious. Let's do that book."
I love it. Well, it is an awesome book, and it's an easy read. And the way that it is written is just very practical, very fun. And it's not real. It's just not really an intense book that's going to take you weeks to read. Like, I read it in 2 sittings. So for readers and our audience, just know that you can pick this book up and you can read it in 1 sitting. And then it has great practical tips that you can use as a workbook almost. It even has a couple of things at the end of each chapter where you can literally fill out some work and find some clarity around how you can join the Quitters Club. So it was really awesome, well-written format. So, well, let's dig into that. Let's dig into some of the tools that y'all reference in the book. I don't remember how many tools you give me, but you gave me some tools, and there's a couple tools that I want to highlight. The first one is acknowledging the truth. Tell me about that. Talk to me about acknowledging the truth and where that comes from. Where is the person sitting? They're in their W-2 job. They're in whatever circumstance or situation that they are in, and they want to quit. So how does acknowledging the truth help them move towards becoming a quitter?
Hey, Wyatt, we found that everybody's got something they're working on. It's your what's next for you. And in this case, let's say it's quitting your day job, if you will. And I found, for me, back in my mid-30s, I realized that my career had oxidated. What was fun from 26 to 35 no longer served me, and that was selling real estate. And I found it just had lost its luster. So we created what we call the soul sucking audit.
Mm.
And this is in the book, and it's all about, where are you on your journey? So for me, it was, to ask these questions. Am I making money? I was. Does it serve me all day? Nah, not so much. Did I look forward to Mondays? Not really. And it was no longer a fit for where I was and where I where I wanted to go. So in the book, we have what we call the tool. It's called the soul sucking audit. And it's just one of the tools that we have within the book. We made it very tactical, the book. And this is one of the tools that you'll get it. And it's just something that can help you figure out where are you now and where might you go in the future.
So good. And those tactical questions, I think, are what make it. I mean, it's an easy read, and then you get to the end and you get to summarize and almost confront reality, which is what is so difficult sometimes. And it's done in an easy way. I looked up the summary of acknowledging the truth at the end, and basically what you guys wrote was, quitting is scary. For your brain, it's like standing at the edge of a steep cliff. That fear is the real thing keeping you stuck. So good. So good.
Yeah. And so, that's what we were dealing with when we write this book. We're like, okay, here's the deal. If we're going to write a strategic book, it would just give a bunch of cliches about, hey, do it, have faith in yourself, let the universe take over, BS like that. And we wrote that first chapter with acknowledging the truth of, hey, no. This is scary. This is a really hard thing. And that's why you haven't quit yet, because it's so scary. So let's acknowledge that. But rather than saying, okay, this is a cliff, we're going to jump off this cliff and figure out how to build a plane on the way down, we wrote a book that is essentially like a trapeze. So we have a trapeze swing for chapter 2. We have a trapeze swing for chapter 4. We have, almost 20 trapeze swings for the person that wants to quit to tactically grab one at a time to make sure that when they quit, they don't fail. And that was our goal with the book, is let's just not, make it a, hey, fall and figure it out and make them feel good on the way down by giving them positive affirmations. Let's get tactical. Let's come up with the exact trapeze swings and give them to them each chapter.
So good.
With
man.
a net below. So
That's right.
So you don't fall.
And if you do fall, you're caught, right? You have some risk mitigation. I thought that the analogy of the trapeze was just fantastic. I really did. In fact, I've got a guy that's in my network, and he's got a W-2, but he's also got a side hustle, and he's been itching. Like, he has discovered that his W-2 is not serving him, his passion, his life. It is draining him. And he's been coming to some of my investor meetups, some of the classes that we teach to help people figure out, their future and how to get from where they are to where they want to be. And I sent him a little excerpt via text from the book, and he responded. I haven't talked to him in probably a month. He responded and said, "Bruh, I'm putting in my 2 weeks notice this week."
Oh, snap.
I said,
wow.
"Oh my God."
He took the soul suck meter quick.
He did. So I said, well, hold up. We got to talk tomorrow before you put in your 2 weeks, because what you guys included in that book, which I thought was so tactical and practical, is make sure that you get your financing in order. In other words, he's got his W-2, but he had not bought his first rental property, and he had not gotten a HELOC on his existing house. Both of those are in the book as potential safety nets that make it less risky. And so we were able to have a conversation yesterday where I said, look, here's the deal. You might just need to delay your 2 weeks for 4 weeks or 6 weeks. Let's go ahead and get your HELOC in place. And we got him on a pathway. But the book is so practical in simple terms and simple things like that, that even him coming around our investor meetups for months hadn't really materialized in terms of the trapeze, right? Like, get your credit in order, maximize your credit while you have the W-2 income to fall back on, and then quit the job after you get your credit in place, and it makes it a little less risky. So good.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like, I'll one up that on the HELOC. Get the HELOC, take the money out and put it in another bank.
Dude,
Because if
you're
you remember
right.
last time that everything crashed, the banks closed out the HELOCs. If you had a $30,000 HELOC and you'd only used up $5,000, then they wiped away your other ability to take out the additional 25.
That's exactly right. You know what? This is kind of off topic, but it's so relevant to my world and the journey that I've traveled as an entrepreneur. There's a drunk monkey phrase or thought in my head that says that's so shady. Like that, if you were really successful, if you were really competent, you wouldn't need to circumvent that potential issue. Now, I have to say that because of the posse that the tribe, GoBundance, and all the commentary, the calls that we've had, I took my money out of my HELOC and I put it in the other bank. So I did it.
Good for you.
I did it. And we did have that conversation. And I've been telling everybody, get your money out, move it to the other bank. We don't know what's coming. So I guess just the acknowledgement that doesn't come easy for people like me, or me, might not be hard for other people. But the book, y'all being able to help teach this, people that we respect, helps us take that action. And that's also part of what you talk about in the book, which is, we'll talk about that in a minute, basically getting a team, a tribe, people that you can rub shoulders with to help support you in the action and the behaviors that are necessary to follow through with what you want. Let's talk about another one. Ask failure questions. That was another tool. I think it's tool number 3.
Yeah, I love that one. Tony Robbins would come into the room and say, what would you do if you could not fail? And that's a great journaling exercise. But again, we wanted to write a book that was practical and tactical and not just woo-woo. So it's a great journaling exercise because you want to know where you want to go ideally, and you want to be able to build a business plan and that sort of thing. So we say, go ahead and answer that question. But more importantly is, what would it look like if you did fail? Stretch your mind. If you read Dale Carnegie's book, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, basically what he teaches you to do in that book is give yourself a worst case scenario on the absolute worst that could happen. And once you've thought of that as the worst case scenario, you're usually like, you know what I mean? My mom would take me and let me stay in her room. You know what I mean? Like, if you watch This Is Us, they do the same thing. The couple, Randall and his wife, they're always going worst case scenario, and they come out with these really weird worst case scenarios that are like drastic just to get them from stopping the anxiety. It's the same thing we want you to do. What does it look like if you absolutely failed? What would happen? Would it really be that bad for your guy with the W-2? Would he be able to, pick up a job, maybe even better? Or would he be able to, start over doing something else, So we asked you to do that. But then most importantly, we ask a third question, and that is, are you already failing?
It's so huge in the equation. And I go back to, at that time for me, selling real estate, yes, I was already failing because the juice had, it was just done. It was just something that didn't fit me anymore. And it was time for the next incarnation. And boy, is that the toughest thing to do, is make that move anyway, when you know that it's just not working for you. So,
well, part of what I really enjoyed about the way the book was written and the questions that were asked is it helps you to confront reality. And you guys know Ben Hardy because we've had him at some of the GoBundance events. I follow him, have coached with him for many years. And it reminded me that all goals come from 3 sources: exposure, desire, and confidence. He teaches that a lot. And when we confront the reality, are you already failing? It makes me dig deep and ask the question, what goal am I hitting because of my job? And usually it's financial, only financial. And so it makes you realize that I'm failing in my purpose, in my mission, in my life. Yes, I got the paycheck, but man, I'm failing in all these other areas. And the book, y'all included some great stories, some great success stories and testimonials of people that realized that, hey, they had a great paycheck, but they didn't have a great life. And it was because of the job that kept them from doing that. And when they realized they're failing in 4 out of the other 5 areas, it helped them reprioritize, and they were able to put a plan together and quit. And they've never looked back.
Preach, Wyatt. I mean, this is in the book. One of the things we talk about is, number one, basically what we want you to do is try to score above a 6 when you go 1 to 10. And number one, of course, is compensation. But let's just say that's a 10. Number 2 is your respect for yourself, but also maybe the respect you're getting from your boss. And number 3 is your fit for the team and the organization. How do you really feel like you fit in? Are you a collaborative balancing the rest of the team? Or do you really fit in there? You know, do you complement the team?
What I love about that point, Pat, is one of the things that this show is built around is Jim Rohn's quote, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And we teach the hack is when you get clear on what you want, all you got to do is go get into a relationship with people that are already there, and the rest is history. To me, that's what GoBundance does, right? And all of that happened for me at this sort of the same time. Finding clarity, upgrading my people became GoBundance. The people at your work, are they serving your future self, the future self that you want? You might have the compensation, but the people you're working with are keeping you average or below whatever your potential really is. So I really like that point too. Well, let's keep going. Another tool that I wanted to talk about was how to build a quitting team or joining a quitting team. That's kind of a great segue. The average of the 5, right? So
tell me about that. I'd like to touch on that. It's almost like your personal board of directors. And with this, we have 4 stakeholders. Number 1, your stakeholders of your family and those that affected. Number 2 is the partners. Is a great choice, a source for those that may be part of your future endeavors. Number 3 is your mentors. These are the ones that can that have done it and can light the way for you moving forward. And number 4, if you're lucky enough to have a coach that is part of your quit team. So that's the stakeholders, the partners, the mentors, and a coach as part of your quit team.
I could talk about that forever, Tim. There's so many healthy little nuggets of truth that are in there. And one of the things that I'm really hot on right now is we're looking at the economy. We're looking at what's next. How do we pivot? What do we do? Where do we pivot? There's a bold law from Keller Williams. If y'all remember bold, people grow into the conversations around them. And so again, if people want to move in a better direction, a bigger direction, when they figure out what that direction is, then from their perspective, they just have to go join the conversations. And Ben Hardy, I think, says it. Somebody says people rise to the level of expectations from their peer group. So you just go find a peer group that has those expectations that are in alignment with what you got to do to live your best life.
So if you took that, let's just take that for the average individual, and it's all tied into what their identity is. Yes. From where they were and where they want to go. And when you see yourself as where you've been, and everybody looks at you of where you're going, and you're doing the hard work inside, because this is all an inside job. And when you're doing that hard work inside of helping you become where you're going next. And that's the ability to change your identity of what's next. And for me, it was, I just wanted to list and sell real estate. And then it was, I don't want to do that anymore. I merely want to invest. And that was the new identity. Is I wrote a plan. It's called Tim is Now an Investor Plan. And it was shaping my identity from where I was to where I'm going. And I think that's a huge part in all of this.
I couldn't agree more. And so back to the quitting team and that quote, people grow into the conversations around them. The intensity of the conversations. So how off or how deep are they? Is it an email? Is it a one-on-one? Is it a coach? Is it a stakeholder? Is it a mentor? And then the frequency, how often do you have those conversations is what allows you to evolve. And so the importance of having a coach, that's really where I'm going, is people read the book and they want to build or join a quitting team, assembling that team or putting that team together. I know you guys have a coaching arm to this, and I want you to talk about that and how that can help increase the frequency and the intensity of the conversations that are necessary for wannabe quitters to actually change their identity, right? And live into their identity. Because again, I know we've talked about Ben Hardy a couple of times already. He says that identity is simply the story that you tell yourself. And so when you get clear on Tim as an investor, and you start journaling that, and you look at your business plan that says Tim is an investor, that's the story that you're telling yourself about your identity. And the more you visit that statement, the more it becomes real. And then you're able to take action towards that future. And I think that coaching, stakeholders, mentors, this exact conversation, the book, all of this is iterations of the conversations that people need to successfully quit and evolve.
I'll have Pat talk about the coaching a bit more, but to me, it's a 3-step process. Number one, buy the book. Number two, get the tools that are in the book that are at the end of it that you can get for free. And number three is the coaching. And Pat, if you could go deeper on that, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
But it's a 3-step process.
So first of all, and this may date this podcast, but the book comes out August 11th on biggerpockets.com/Quitters Manifesto. And Bigger Pockets is running a special where if you buy the book in the first 2 weeks of it coming out, that you are eligible for a lottery. There's going to be 10 winners. And those 10 winners get free coaching with me and Tim, 3 sessions, 3 Mondays in a row during the month of August and September on how to quit, kind of like hand holding. And it's not just a lottery with 1 winner. There's 10 winners. So basically everybody that buys the book at Quitters Manifesto, at biggerpockets.com/Quitters Manifesto, you'll see the information for this thing. So anyway, so back to what we're doing with the coaching. So we've been putting together, along with 2 guys, Aaron Velke and Ian Lobus, we've been putting together a coaching program that is basically a hand-holding program that is group coaching that puts you with other quitters so you don't feel alone. That's the biggest thing. It's kind of like the difference between jumping off a cliff by yourself and jumping off a cliff holding hands with 10 other people in a quitters club. We're all going to do it together, and everybody's going to jump off and grab the first rung of the trapeze together and the second rung of the trapeze together. So it's a hand-holding process. And of course, information on that is on quittersclub.com, or you can simply go to, again, biggerpockets.com/quitters.
I love it.
You know, I'd like to touch on that too.
Okay.
You talk about the importance of a coach. You know, Pat, I don't think we've ever discussed this between us, but I don't know about you, but I barely graduated high school. I never went to college, but I bet I've spent between $500,000 and $1 million on various coaches throughout my career. I've got 2 different coaches right now. And I think it's such an important piece in investing in yourself along the journey. And I think learning is a lifelong process, and you have different coaches for different levels. And this is believing in you and taking this to the next level by getting a coach. So it's, Pat, what was it was quittersmanifesto.com, or for the Quitters Club?
Yeah, that's just quittersclub.com.
Thank you.
And Tim's right. Yeah. So I got two coaches now too. I got a communications coach and a therapist that I'm working with. We've always had coaches. We're always trying to improve. It's like that old adage that, Japanese think kanai, constant, never ending improvement.
Yeah, well, we call it Kaizen over here, and that's the name of my real estate team, Kaizen Home Sales and Services. So I'm familiar with the continual improvement. I just always called it a proverb, but I'm the same way. I'm recording a course right now, and whenever I revisited my pathway to here, I probably have spent over $200,000 on coaches in my 20 years. It seemed so crazy in the beginning, right? To spend the money on a coach. Why do I need a coach? But they are the social environment, the physical, they're the forcing function that keeps the drunk monkey at bay and helps you find clarity and focus and come back to center. And so I can't recommend the need for a coach enough. They are critical. They're critical.
Yeah. And by surrounding you with other quitters, the nail gets sharpened. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. There's the old story of the guy that goes into the farmer to sell some fertilizer to the farmer. And there's an old hound dog sitting beside the farmer, and he's whimpering. He just whimpers during the whole sale. And the guy's like, "What the hell's wrong with your dog? He's just whimpering." And he's like, "Well, I think he's sitting on a nail." He said, "He's sitting on a nail. Well, why the hell didn't he get up?" He said, "Well, I guess it doesn't hurt him enough." And so what we're trying to do is sharpen the nail so it hurts, right? And once you start talking to other people that hate their W-2s or that have taken the soul suck meter and are registering 6 or less, on the respect that they're getting at their job, 6 or less on the fit that they feel, 6 or less on their prospects for growth, 6 or less on how do you feel every morning when you go into work, then they're like, okay, guess what? The nail just sharpened a little bit. And then over time, that nail's going to sharpen, and you're going to get up and you're going to quit like the dog would get up and move off that nail.
And you never know who will meet in this group. Pat Hiban and I met at a conference when we were getting rid of the last nails to move on to our next ventures. And gosh, Pat and I have like 5 businesses together. And this wouldn't have happened if we didn't choose to go to a conference in Chicago and pay $3,000. And Pat and I met each other, went for a run. One thing led to another. And you just never know what will happen when you believe in yourself and take that next step. So.
Well, it goes back to what Ben Hardy says, and we just said it. People set goals from 3 sources: exposure, desire, and confidence. And so if you really want,
we got to start having you say, this goes back to what Tim wrote and Pat Hiban, because you brought up Ben Hardy like 12 times already. So
well, y'all get the credit. Your group gets the credit for me introducing me.
We're trying to sell our book, not Ben's.
No doubt. But you're catching me off guard. Okay. Here's the thing, though.
Keep this in there. This has to go in there.
I hadn't got tongue twisted or tied up in a podcast episode in a long time. Okay.
You look good in red, Wyatt.
Yeah, let me turn this light off so that you can.
Ben's books are going to go through the roof.
Oh, no doubt. The deal is group genius and group thinking. When you join the group coaching, that's just where you get exposed to all the ideas, things that you didn't know that you didn't know. Yeah. And it's the same thing that happened with y'all. It's the same thing that happens with everything that GoBundance does for me is it exposes me to more. And the more I'm exposed, the more choices I have. And that's where life and freedom comes from. So again, it's quittersclub.com for coaching and biggerpockets.com/quittersmanifesto for the book, where we can register to win coaching sessions with the two of y'all?
Yeah, that's the lottery that they're doing. And again, there's going to be 10 people that win that. And so the book comes out August 11th. It'll be on biggerpockets.com for until August 30th. And then August 30th, it goes to Amazon and Barnes and Nobles and all that. So we're trying to build up some momentum so that people buy it early during that process at biggerpockets.com.
I think what I may do is I might buy some of those books and distribute those to our investor meetup. That'd be a great group of people to share that resource with. It sounds like it would be a good gift for them. So I'll go on the record and buy bulk for my investor meetup group.
Awesome. Why?
So before we end, what is on the horizon for y'all? What is your next? What, are you about to quit something and evolve again? What's happening in the next year for you guys?
Wow, that's a great question. I wrote my first book, 6 Steps to 7 Figures, 11 years ago, and I was fortunate enough that Bigger Pockets Publishing decided to take it and make a remake. So I did 2 extra chapters, like new and improved edition type chapters that make it to bring it up to speed of where I am now. And that comes out in September. So I'm excited about that. Tim and I will both be at the Bigger Pockets conference in San Diego. I think we have 50 GoBundance brothers at that conference already.
Nice.
So it's kind of going to be a little GoBundance meetup there. And Tim and the guy got some big things on the horizon with GoBundance. As you know, we have 750 members now. We have a conference coming up, the biggest one yet. It looks like it's going to be in March in Lake Tahoe. We expect to have over 300 GoBundance members there. It's going to be just insane. So we're doing some prep work for that currently.
I think that the Dallas event actually goes live on August 1st. So a bunch of the Louisiana GoBundance guys are going to make the Dallas trip.
You're in store for guys has like a private wine cellar worth like $1 million. You're going to go into that, and then a JFK tour.
Nice.
Like a really, really detailed JFK from the world-renowned expert on the JFK assassination.
Wow.
Like the number one guy that's in all the biography and History Channel, all the documentaries. He's the guy they go to.
So we'll
That's
take
awesome.
a bus right down to where it happened. We'll go on the grassy knoll, the whole thing, and it's going to be amazing.
Gives me the chills.
Yeah. When so you asked what's next for us. One of the things in the book that we want y'all to think about, and this is what I think the whole book is about. It's called the I/O quotient. What is my interest over obligation? Think about that. How much time do I spend every day in obligation versus interest? So it's funny, when you said that, I started thinking about what is next for me. And candidly, I'm trying to stay above 80% interest and 20% of obligation. Last year, I spent a lot of my year, believe it or not, building a disc golf course in my town. And this is where I chose to spend my time in my retirement. And so, I really love to have off the wall next incarnations like that. And I got it done in 1 year. It's amazing for our town. I play 4 or 5 days a week and just love it. But I think that IO quotient is such a big piece of the book. And I just wanted to use me as an example for what that might look like for you as you go through decades of your life of looking at, how can I perfect this incarnation to help springboard me, or use the trapeze towards my next incarnation.
So good.
I'm so glad you brought that up. The IO quotient. That's, we got that from Naval Ravikant. If you haven't read that, his book, right?
We're not talking about other people's book on here anymore.
Yeah. Sorry. So anyways, yeah, I love that. And Tim was the master. Tim was a master of interest over obligation. I mean, really, we should figure out a way, and I'm trying to add this to the GoBundance one sheet is, figure out a way where you track that every day at the end of the day or something, right? How much of today was interest? How much of today was obligation?
And how much of this week, this month, this quarter, this year, because we get new project and it takes a little more time to get it going and get it up to speed, but then to drop back into where you want to be, that's the challenge.
I have to go back and plug your coaching, because for that question to be answered, you have to have clarity around what is your interest, where are you going, and that doesn't happen in an instant, right? Like, it is a coaching conversation that helps you figure out how to reframe and reprogram your brain in terms of what life could be versus what it is, because of everything in the past. And so I can't plug coaching strong enough, because it actually helps you work through those conversations to find clarity around what you want your future self to look like.
Excellent. Well, I think it's really cool. We've teamed up with Ian and Aaron Velke, and that's exactly what they do we talked on quitting as an inside game.
Yeah.
And that's what they go deep into. Maybe it's not even quitting your day job. Maybe it's it's a bad habit. It's a marriage. It's how can I get through this tough challenge that's ahead of me with others, and I think that really helps when you're going through it, that are, you're going through it with like-minded people who paid money to figure this stuff out and will help hold you accountable to what you say you want to do.
No doubt. Hey, Tim and Pat, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are and what your careers look like and your relationship with GoBundance, and just so our audience knows who we're talking to today.
Sure. Well, I'll give you now. I'm one of the founders of GoBundance. I'm the founder of an awesome nonprofit called One Life Fully Lived. It's onelifefullylived.org. But I started with humble beginnings. I barely graduated high school. At 25 years old, I was a grocery clerk, not getting enough hours so I got into real estate. I guess that was my first quit job. And then I've just kind of worked my way from real estate to investing to coaching realtors to helping start GoBundance, helping start One Life. And that's where I am now.
Love it. Pat?
Yeah, sure. So, Wyatt, I was, I guess basically I started as a real estate agent at 21. Went to college, got a degree in sociology, got like a 2.3 GPA. I didn't really, have any direction or know what I was going to do. And I got into real estate because there was no barrier to entry. Anybody could get a job doing it. And was in that game for 25 years and, rose to the ranks of several companies, rose to the top. Made a lot of money, had a mortgage company, had a title company. And then, I quit when it got tough. I don't want to say that got tough. I say it was tough. And I think what happened was that created a lot of oxidation, right? Tim and I like to talk about oxidation because of like quitting is the ultimate antioxidant. Like I was just oxidized. I just wasn't having fun.
Mm-hmm.
I actually hated it. I used to love it and went from a love to hate. And a lot of that had to do with the market, but it also had to do with the agents, whining and wanting more leads and, the bill collectors and things like that. And so I quit. I did a couple of things that didn't fit. I did 5 or 6 things actually that I thought we're going to scratch the itch, and they didn't. You could say I failed at them, or you could just say I quit at them, or you could just say I decided that they weren't working. What did rise to the top were the 2 things I did with Tim, which was we created DAPT Acquisitions, which is a in apartments. We have about, I think we're over 2,000 units now in apartments, and GoBundance. We started out just me, Tim, and David just hanging out, sharing goals. Now we're over 750 men, 130 women. And then, of course, we have Emerge and Ascend with 150 some people. So we're probably creeping in on 1,000 total things from the 3 different entities. Those have worked great because both Tim and I were riding in their wakes. You know, there's people running the show there. There's partners that are pushing it forward, and we're general partners, but we're kind of like limited partners, if that makes sense.
Yep. Well, that's awesome. I didn't realize that y'all had that many houses in your portfolio. So that's great. We're working on, I'm working on getting to 100. And if all things go well, by the end of this year, we will be over 100. So that's awesome. Well, guys, as we wrap up, this conversation has been awesome. The book is great. I can't wait to support it and to push it and to promote it and to see its impact on the Quitters Club. It's going to be really awesome. So if I can do anything for y'all in South Louisiana, you got my number. I'm here. And hopefully I will see y'all in Dallas.
Sounds great, Wyatt. Thank you so much for the opportunity. We really appreciate it, man.
You're welcome.